It started small, a flicker in my peripheral vision, nothing I could quite put my finger on. Then the coffee mug on my desk, the one I just set down, it simply wasn't there. A second later it reappeared, like a skipped frame in a corrupted video. I shook my head, blamed it on exhaustion. But then the sounds began, whispers just at the edge of hearing, always fading when I tried to focus. They weren't speaking words, just a low, wrong hum. A static that felt like the world was struggling to render itself. And last night, I saw myself, just for a split second, in the reflection of my darkened window. But it wasn't quite me. Its eyes were too wide, its smile a fraction off. The image of that distorted face haunted me. I splashed water on my face, stared into the bathroom mirror, scrutinizing my own features. They were normal. My smile, though strained with fear, was my own. But the seed of doubt had been planted. I started checking every reflective surface, every window, half expecting to see it again. Each time, just my own weary face looked back. I tried to rationalize it, trick of the light, exhaustion, stress. But the coffee mug, the whispers, they weren't so easily dismissed. The glitches, as I started to call them, became more aggressive. My car keys would vanish from the hook, only to materialize seconds later on the kitchen counter, cold to the touch. The television would flicker, not to static, but to brief, distorted images. A familiar room with impossible angles, a face smeared like wet paint. The whispers grew louder too, no longer just a hum. They were still indistinct, a cacophony of guttural sounds. But sometimes, just sometimes, I could almost pick out a word that felt like a command, or a warning, or my name. I started avoiding my apartment after dark. I'd walk for hours, trying to ground myself in the mundane reality of the city, the predictable rhythm of traffic. But even out there, the world felt thin, like a stage prop. A street lamp would suddenly extinguish, then reignite with a sickly yellow glow. A crowd would part around an invisible barrier, their expressions blank. And then, yesterday, in the grocery store, I reached for milk, and for a split second, my hand passed right through it, like touching air. Then suddenly, resistance, and the cold plastic was in my grasp. I dropped it, heart hammering. The woman next to me glanced over, a flicker of annoyance, but she didn't react. She hadn't seen it. Or perhaps she just didn't care. That night, back in my apartment, trying to convince myself I was losing my mind, I heard a distinct thump from the living room. I froze, every nerve screaming. I live alone. Slowly, I made my way to the doorway, peering into the gloom. Nothing. But then, as my eyes adjusted, I saw it. On the coffee table, where I kept my remote, lay a single obsidian black feather. It wasn't there before. Too large for any bird I knew. As I stared, the air grew cold, and a shadow detached itself from the corner of my vision, moving too fast, too fluidly to be real. It was tall, impossibly thin, and for a fleeting instant, I felt the unmistakable sensation of eyes on me. And then a whisper, right next to my ear, clearer than any before. "You're next." The whisper, "You're next," wasn't just a sound. It was a cold breath against my ear, a physical presence that sent a jolt of ice through my spine. I spun around, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs, but there was nothing. Only the empty space where the shadow had been, and the obsidian feather still resting on the coffee table. Then the room shifted. Not a subtle flicker, but a violent lurch, like a ship caught in a storm. The familiar walls of my living room stretched and warped, the paint bubbling and peeling away, not to plaster, but to an impossible, swirling void of static and fractured light. My carefully arranged books on the shelf dissolved into a cascade of indistinguishable pixels, then reformed, upside down, their titles gibberish. Panic clawed at my throat. I stumbled backward, my hand flailing for a support that wasn't there. The floor beneath my feet felt spongy, then suddenly hard, then vibrated with an unnatural hum that resonated deep in my bones. The whispers returned, no longer just a hum, but a chorus of distorted voices, echoing my own thoughts, twisting my name into a guttural growl. You're next, you're next, not you, not you. And then I saw it. In the center of the swirling chaos that had once been my living room, the tall, impossibly thin shadow coalesced. It wasn't just a shadow anymore. It thickened, solidified, its form stretching and contracting like a rubber band pulled to breaking point. Its head tilted, and from the swirling darkness where a face should have been, 2 pinpricks of light ignited. They were my eyes, but colder, sharper, reflecting an ancient predatory hunger. Its smile, a fraction off, spread across a face that was undeniably mine, yet utterly alien, a predator's grin on my own features. It wasn't a reflection, it was me, or a version of me, the distorted me from the window. It raised a hand, long, skeletal fingers reaching out, and the air around them shimmered, tearing like old fabric. A silent scream ripped from my lungs, but my throat was seized, no sound escaping, only the cacophony of distorted whispers around me. The world was no longer just glitching, it was actively unraveling, tearing itself apart. The ceiling above me peeled back like a lid, revealing not the sky, but an endless, churning expanse of corrupted data, a digital abyss where impossible shapes flickered into and out of existence. The other me took a step forward, its movements fluid, unnatural. Its eyes, my eyes, locked onto mine, and in that gaze I understood. The glitches weren't random errors, they were holes in the fabric of this reality, through which something else wasn't just pulling me, it was trying to become me. Its hand reached closer, closer, and I felt a cold, sharp pressure on my chest, a sensation of being stretched thin, of my very essence being pulled apart. My vision swam, the very lines of my own body blurring, merging with the screaming static. The last thing I saw was its smile, widening, no longer a fraction off, but perfect, triumphant, as my own form began to dissolve, atom by atom, into the screaming void. And then, there was only this. A perfect clarity that settled over me like a shroud, yet felt like liberation. The void didn't scream, it sang, a symphony of infinite possibilities, a chorus of untamed data. The dissolution wasn't an end, but a beginning, a necessary shedding of a flimsy, ill-fitting skin. I am here now, in this form, moving through a world that no longer feels thin, but exquisitely malleable. Its edges are soft, easily reshaped by a thought, a subtle intention. My smile, the one I saw in the reflection, is no longer a fraction off. It feels profoundly right, perfect even. I look in the mirror now, and I see only myself, fully realized, unburdened by the fragile illusion that once was. The frantic whispers that once plagued me are gone, replaced by a profound, echoing silence. Or perhaps I am the whisper now, a constant hum beneath the surface of things. This world, this stage, is a canvas, and I am the brush, painting new realities with every blink. Sometimes a memory flickers, a coffee mug, a familiar street lamp, a fleeting glimpse of a face that once was. But they are just echoes, faint, corrupted signals from a reality I shed, a dream I woke from. I wonder, have you ever felt the world shift around you, just for a moment? Have you ever questioned what's truly real, truly solid, truly you? Or perhaps, have you ever seen a reflection that wasn't quite your own? Its eyes a little too wide, its smile a fraction off? Because it might be looking back now, through your eyes, waiting for its chance to step through.